Hello and welcome in. I am Greg Smith, recruiting extraordinaire for Hail Varsity, and I am joined for a special edition football video with staff writer Steve Marik. Steve, how are you on this very kind of cold and rainy day in Lincoln?
Yeah, it's a bad day in Lincoln, but pretty good inside the walls of Memorial Stadium in Huskerville. So, yeah, I'm sure they're feeling very, very good right now. And yeah, let's break down the news.
Yeah, so the huge news, obviously, is that Nebraska picked up a transfer commitment from TCU EDGE transfer defender Ochaun Mathis, a guy that we have been talking about here for what feels like months. Like I assume, like I never went back to see like when the first time was that we actually started talking about him, but it does feel like it's been months. But he picked Nebraska. Like he picked Nebraska today over Texas. He had a ceremony on Instagram Live and Facebook Live. Shout out to them, I guess, for those where he made a quick speech. He didn't really draw it out very long. He picked the Huskers. Now, the interesting thing, or one of the very many interesting things about this is that no one at this point has spoken to Mathis himself, right? And so a lot of this decision and what went into it has been left up to kind of third parties and figuring out through sources like what the actual criteria were for this decision. And we'll get to that. But I want to start here, Steve. When you were watching that live stream with Yoda the dog that made an appearance, what was your reaction when the pick was in and it was Nebraska?
Yeah, going into this whole thing, and first of all, yeah, like I think he entered the transfer portal in mid January, and that's kind of when his name started circulating. So it's been a saga with Ochaun Mathis and kind of everybody, but yeah, it's a saga that I'm kind of happy that it's over with and done. We've reached the end of the road here with this one. So, but yeah, I didn't think that they were going to get him. I didn't think that Nebraska was going to get him at first, but at the end of the day, when you look at the college football landscape and kind of how business is being done right now, NIL matters and NIL deal matters. And so I think that, Nebraska, this is a huge win for Nebraska, everybody from the coaching staff to the current players who probably were helping recruit him to the support staff and all the NIL kind of operation that Nebraska has going. This is a really big recruiting win for those guys. And so, yeah, did I think it was going to happen? No, I thought he was going to go to Texas, but here I stand corrected.
I think that conventional wisdom in the situation would have told you and led you to believe that Texas was going to be the pick, which is in part why I think the Longhorns were what seemingly the favorite for the majority of kind of this recruitment. And as we've been talking about it, and if you just really think about it, a guy from Texas, not only from Texas, but from Austin, down the road from campus, he can drive there at any point, and he did. He took three visits there during this process. Yeah, you would think that guy would be leaning Texas versus a school in Nebraska that he didn't really have previous ties to. But Nebraska, like in a lot of cases, and in my role as the quote unquote recruiting extraordinaire, I say this all the time, that if Nebraska can get a kid on campus, they have a shot, right? And I think that that's even more true now with NIL, which is something that Nebraska has obviously, and I tweeted this out, this is a win for Nebraska's NIL operation and what they've been able to put together and will continue building on, oh, by the way. And it shows to the rest of the country that they can play by kind of these new rules and they can go toe to toe with major programs from around the country and show that, hey, I don't know what, the outside perception was of Nebraska and their ability to present NIL to people. But I think that this puts everyone on notice, right? Like they have to be considered in that facet with everyone else in college football that the elite schools doing this. Now, that can't be the only reason that he picked Nebraska, right? Like he has goals and aspirations beyond just a 1 year, like playing one more year of college football, regardless of how much potential earning power he has at Nebraska for this 1 year. It is only going to be 1 year of his life, right? And so you have to have something beyond that. And one of the things that I think is key in that, and just from kind of talking to people, I think that part of what Nebraska's pitch is listen, you play a premier position in football right now on the edge, right? Go look, and it's perfect timing, right? Of making this
Yes.
decision and announcement during the NFL draft. Oh, by the way, if you saw the video of his announcement, what was on the graphic or the banner behind him of like the graphic for Nebraska? The NFL draft logo, right? And so when you see that, you know that he has aspirations for that. And I think that selling Nebraska being in the Big Ten and getting him ready to face NFL type offensive linemen had to be a really, really big selling point.
I completely agree. And you said it. It's no perfect time. Just look at the NFL draft that's going on right now, and see the conferences that are putting the players into the NFL. It's the SEC and it's the Big Ten. Those are the two, and then there's a big gap. And so,
gap.
with Ochaun Mathis coming and playing on the edge in a Big Ten program, he's going to be going against some of the best offensive linemen. Some just kind of, he's getting the opportunity that everybody wants to see, that NFL personnel wants to see him playing against kind of the best of the best. And the Big Ten has that. The SEC has that too, but the Big Ten is right there. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think he'd be playing against some of the better competition if he would have chose Texas. So, if he's coming to Nebraska, he's playing against some really talented and really highly regarded offensive lines. And so that's just kind of like, he wants to do it. He's putting himself to the test, and he picked the destination that, is going to give him the opportunity to do that. So now it's up to him to kind of come and show everybody what he's got. So yeah, that's just kind of the perfect, it makes sense at the end of the day, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that part of it is just, it could not be better timing for that, given what's happening with the NFL draft right now. And one of the things too that you have to discuss in this news is that what this does for Nebraska's defense overall. One of the things, and I think it may have been in our Thursday video. Make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already, right after you listen to this one or watch this one and like and subscribe, right? Go back and check that out. I think we talked about that Nebraska, we have not seen this version of Nebraska's defense under Scott Frost and Eric Chinander with a consistent pass rush. Like we don't know what that looks like, right? We've seen it be pretty stout against the pass and not give up big plays. We've seen it continue to improve against the run. We've seen kind of some really solid individual playmakers on this defense. You can go down kind of the list: the Davis twins, JoJo Doman. We've seen Luke Reimer, get 100 tackles. We have seen a whole lot of things, right? And we have not seen what it looks like for the defense and how things change if you actually have a guy or two that can really strike some fear into an offensive coordinator, specifically on third down. I am fascinated by that part of this. Once we get past kind of all of the hoopla and all of the stuff that comes with kind of courting Ochaun Mathis and him making this decision for Nebraska, now it's time to turn to what type of impact can this make on Nebraska's defense. So when you just kind of, the news is fresh, but what kind of impact, Steve, do you think that it can make for the Huskers defense moving forward?
I mean, just looking at some of the highlights from his time at TCU, he kind of reminds me of Randy Gregory, right? Just a big, long, really just cut defensive lineman that just gets after the quarterback and can get around people. And, just like you said, on third down, it's been a while since somebody has kind of looked like that at Nebraska, as we're just kind of pinning their ears back and going and getting the quarterback. So that kind of reminds me of what Ochaun looks like. So yeah, I mean, right now it's just, you look at the outside linebacker room, and that's kind of what Ochaun is going to be. I think in Eric Chinander's defense, just kind of on the edge. So, Garrett Nelson, Caleb Tanner provided a nice 1-2 punch, I think, but, enter in Ochaun Mathis, and boy, that's, we'll see how he handles the Big Ten, I guess. That's something that we quite don't know. We know what he can do against Big 12 offenses, kind of the spread elements there, and kind of what he can do against that. But how is he going to do, when teams bring in two tight ends, a fullback, and kind of running right at him? So that's just going to be one thing that I'm going to be interested in seeing. But yeah, along with the outside linebackers, there's still the issue of the interior defensive line. But I'm sure the program is taking a peek in the transfer portal, and there's some obvious options there that we might be hearing some answers to soon. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska hasn't had a pass rusher to this talent, I think, since Randy Gregory.
And that I think can have a real trickle down effect for the defense. You know who should be, and I just thought of this, who should be the happiest person about this news is Garrett Nelson. Garrett Nelson was trending towards someone that teams were probably just going to double team because he was Nebraska's most dangerous guy off of the edge.
Yeah.
And now you
Yeah.
can't do that. Like, he should be thrilled about that as he continues his development. One thing that I always want to make sure to point out is that Garrett Nelson's development from the time he showed up at Nebraska to where he is now, and we think he can go for this upcoming 2022 season, is a real testament to everyone involved, him included, obviously, about how it's going. But it's great news for him because it's that much less attention that you can pay to him. It should also have a nice trickle down effect for Caleb Tanner, who's also continued to improve. And the one thing that I always think about with these pass rushers too off of the edge is it helps your secondary, right? Because now, you're third down and he can hopefully affect the quarterback, that obviously gets some different pressure, put your defensive backs in better position, and now they can go make a play on the ball. We talk about Nebraska needing to create more turnovers. Part of how you do that is to make offenses comfortable. And you guys watching can picture the amount of times you saw teams just kind of sitting back, taking their time in the pocket, and no one can cover for that long, no matter how good they are, right? You had NFL talent in that secondary, and eventually they're going to kind of break down just by the nature of the beast, right? It's really big news for Nebraska's defense. Again, it is one step in the big news because Nebraska does need to continue to fortify the interior of that line. And like you kind of teased there, I do think we'll hear something soon, one way or the other, with some potential good news there. But that'll also be huge for Nebraska. Nebraska needs to continue to find upgrades where they can, because it's just a pivotal season. And I think that the pieces are there to at least make this a really interesting season. I think that that's kind of my biggest takeaway now, is that we never really lack for storylines around here, but now we definitely have another big one brewing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool that he did it, on the same day as, the NFL draft when that was going down. So maybe we'll be covering him at next year's draft. Who knows?
Right. Who knows? That is his plan. If things go according to his plan, right?
Yeah.
We'll definitely be talking about him in a year. But hey, that's going to do it for us here. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, check out hailvarsity.com. We've got coverage we've talked about the draft. We've got all sorts of coverage on the NFL draft with Husker hopefuls. Hoping to hear their names called this weekend. We'll continue to cover baseball as well if they ever get to play because it stopped raining. We've also got more coverage on the Ochaun Mathis news. We will talk to y'all later.